Chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Jnana, knowledge; karma, action; sannyasa, renunciation; yoga, the path. So, if you carefully analyze the first 3 chapters which we concluded, the first chapter is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It represents the sorrow-ridden condition of the average human being who does not have access to this wisdom. Very unfortunate, which is the whole world really. And then second chapter is Sankhya Yoga, which he calls here Jnanam, knowledge, the yoga of knowledge. You conceive something higher in life and try and understand what it is. That is the second chapter. Third chapter, that understanding is put into practice. Karma Yoga. See how scientifically it is progressing. And with knowledge which is put into practice, you slowly develop an attitude of detachment, dispassion, renunciation, which is what this topic talks about. The transition from this extroverted life where you're obsessed with the world to a more introverted maturity, where you understand there's something far greater than just this world, the self. So you become spiritually mature. This is what this topic talks about. And next topic, Sannyasa Yoga. You're completely established in that higher vision. I told you, renunciation doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding something higher. Obviously, you'll give up the inferior if you understand the superior. It's as simple as that. Culminating in meditation, which we were doing yesterday also in the Vedanta treatise. That's the 6th chapter of the Gita, Dhyana Yoga. So this chapter, as in fact all the chapters, he talks about the highest philosophy and how one slowly matures with it. So if you look at your books, in the introduction to this chapter, I told you, some of you may not be aware because we keep getting inquiries, which book should I get? So Swamiji's book, Swami Parthasarathi, my guru and the founder of the academy where I studied. So he's written this commentary on the Gita where his original contribution has to break down each chapter into subtopics, which is not there in the original Gita, but without it, it's very difficult to understand the thought flow. So if you go there to your books, those of you who have them, so topic 1, so this chapter consists of 42 verses. Topic 1, self is the eternal teacher, 1 to 10. 2, how the self relates to action, 11 to 18. 3, once you reach the self, your actions are not binding. The actions of the enlightened not binding, 19 to 24. Everybody else, your actions bind you more to the world. And 4 is a very profound part of the Gita, the 12 yajnas, sacrifices, 25 to 30. So the yajna, which is the sacrificial ritual of pouring an oblation into the fire, he gives a deeper meaning to it, how you can apply it in every aspect of your life. When we get there, I'll explain. 5. All yajnas culminate in wisdom. Yajna means sacrifice. The more you sacrifice your egocentric desires, the more wise you become. It's as simple as that. That's in fact the whole ritual. And 6, Krishna's advice on how to gain the wisdom. 38 to 42. Got it so far? So chapter 3, he ended with that crucial, essential advice. The more knowledge you gain, the more self-control you practice. The more you can renounce, in other words. And the more you renounce, the more knowledge you gain. And this has to go on till you reach enlightenment. So here the whole focus is on this aspect of knowledge leading to renunciation and vice versa. So you clear so far? Yes, Saurabh, you had something?
Yeah, Hariom Gautamji. So you talked about this spiritually mature. Can you talk more about that? What does that mean?
Spiritual maturity, what it means, you're asking?
Yes.
See, it is determined by how much are you attuned to the self, right? Immaturity is how much you are pursuing the world. The whole pursuit is of happiness, and you're pursuing permanent happiness which you're seeking in an impermanent, changing world. It is the height of immaturity, right? So it's like a child, you put $10,000 in one hand, dollar bills, and you put 2 pieces of candy in another hand, and you take it to a 2-year-old child. What will it choose? It will choose that candy. It is immature. It doesn't understand the value of the money. You can buy 100,000 candies with that money. You understand? And what are you taking 2, right? It's immature. So spiritual maturity is determined by how much you understand the facts of life. That what you're really seeking is beyond this show called the world. Right? So the more knowledge you gain, the more mature you become. That's all it is. So right now we are in a spiritual infancy, immaturity. You get it? The only difference is how immature. Baby is immature, infant is immature, little less than a baby, right? And a kindergarten is better than a baby. So it's like that. But they're all children. They don't understand it. Yeah. Mesh, you had something?
Yeah, Gautamji, what is in this chapter because of which it is considered the most difficult chapter of Gita?
It's not considered the most difficult chapter, first of all. The verses 26 to 25 to 30, which is the 12 yajnas, is one of the deepest portions of the Gita. Which you'll get there, you'll know why. Because your head will go for a spin. Sound is offered, hearing is kindled, hearing is offered, self-control is kindled, all like that. The whole, it's like an Upanishad, very difficult and profound to decipher. So certain chapters are there, not just the fourth. The fourth chapter, the 13th chapter, 15th chapter. These the knowledge, you go deeper. They're like Upanishads, these chapters. They're not second chapter. So various parts of the Gita. So you'll find a distinct difference from this chapter versus the previous chapter. Karma Yoga was directly practical, applicable, understandable in your life. So smooth, and then suddenly you move on to, you'll see the difference. Those of you who've been following. Right? You have something? Then you complete the cycle. Saurabh, Umesh, you, Akila. Then it's complete. Then I feel I've done my job for the day. Right? Verse 1.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanahamavvyayam Vivasvanmanave Praha Manurikshvakave Pravi.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Blessed Lord said, I declared this imperishable yoga to Vivasvan. Vivasvan taught it to Manu. Manu to Ikshvaku. So, again, just to remind you, yoga, because the word is so misunderstood, refers to the spiritual path of uniting with your real self. Yoga means to unite. Yuj. Yuj means to unite. So it has been marketed and developed completely differently in the West, especially here, as the physical exercises which are taught. That's 0.1% of yoga, which is explained as the whole yoga. Now, what can I say? So, yoga refers to the spiritual path of uniting with the self. This knowledge, devotion, and action, the three pillars. So, what Krishna is saying here is, I declared this yoga to Vivasvan. Vivasvan means the sun. And the sun taught it to Manu. Manu is the progenitor, the first ancestor of the human race. It's all symbolic. And Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku is one of the first kings of the human race. So, what does it mean? See, first of all, in fact, Arjuna will ask the question later on. You are born here, and I know your mother. I know you. You were born not different from me. You were born at the same time. How are you saying you taught it to the sun? What are you saying? He'll explain. That's in fact the theme of this topic. So, what he is trying to say, first of all, when you say sun, without sun, there's no creation, right? The physical sun, not your sun. Without your sun, there's no creation for you, but the world will go on and it went on and it will go on. Nothing to do with you. So, what he's trying to say is, this knowledge has been there from time immemorial. In other words, these are eternal principles of life. It's like saying, since the sun existed, the law of gravity existed. It's a correct statement. And from the sun, whether the first human was there, the law of gravity was there. Now it's there. It will be there. It's a law. It's there, right? It is what sustains creation. Similarly, Vedanta consists of these eternal laws. That is why nobody understands. It is way beyond any religion. Every religion has a founder. You take away the founder, the religion is gone. Where Vedanta, which founder? Go to the first Upanishad himself, he'll give a list of 60 of the gurus. Who learned from, who learned from, who learned from. Nowhere you will find a source. Galaxy of sages and saints who just uncovered the laws of life. So it's way beyond any religion, any belief. It's pure science. That's why it's called Brahma Vidya, the science of the self. So what he's saying is, right from the beginning of creation, these laws existed. So I taught this law refers to a self-realized soul. See, who is a self-realized soul? Who understands that they are not this body, they are that consciousness. And that consciousness is the same in you, me, all the humans that ever existed or will exist, right? It's the same conscious principle. It's like the same sun is existing before, now, later. Sun is even is perishable. Consciousness is imperishable. So any realized soul understands that consciousness. So whether it was a realized soul 4,000 years ago or today, they are both talking from the same point. The same knowledge is communicating because they all understand the same self. So that self is communicating. That's what he says here. I taught it. So I, in the form of a realized soul, thousands of years ago, and me here teaching you, is what Krishna is saying. It's the same thing. It is the body, mind, intellects which differ. Even right now, between us, your body is different from my body. Your mind is different from my mind. But the consciousness in both of us is the same. Exactly the same. So if you realize that, and I realize that, we become the same. We both know what our real identities are. So, if you don't understand this, of course, Krishna is God. Of course, he was there. You don't know. See, you should be able to derive. It's not just belief. What is he trying to say? So, all realized souls talk like that. We don't understand because they have understood the same essence which was there in the past, present, future. And the third thing he's talking about is the Guru Shishya Parampara, the preceptor disciple lineage, which is an incredible, unbroken lineage from the early Vedic times till today. It is unbelievable that it has sustained. That's how powerful it is. So even if you go to established history, you may not believe what anybody can say anything. The consensus all over the world. Say it's the Rig Veda was 2000 BC. That's the general consensus. Some people say earlier, some later. Generally, which is around true if you look at the whole chronology. Till today. That's 4,000, right? We are which year now? 2000 and so 2000 plus 2000, right? 4,000 minimum. So there's voluminous books of thousands of verses first passed down orally and then written down a long time later after thousands of years. So each family was responsible for each recension, each shakha, each mandala. It's an incredible tradition. So it's going on. Golden age was up to 500-600 BC because there was no external influence. So it was absolute purity. Then the Persian invasion started. Darius came in 600 BC. You think it's Alexander's earliest? No. 300 years before Alexander. Then Alexander. Then procession. Latest were the British, left just about 75 years ago. So we're talking 600 BC to 1947 AD. Invasions. Can you believe? And still they're not able to break this. Anywhere else in the world, they converted the whole lot into one of two religions, except here, India. So you must understand how powerful it is. This preceptor disciple lineage, it went on. So you learnt it from your guru, and then you made sure others got it. So it doesn't die out. That's what we're doing. So whatever knowledge is there, is we do our best to try and communicate it to the world, regardless of religion, race, creed, geography, anything. Because it's pure eternal principles of how to live your life. Nothing to do with religion. So that's what he's talking about. So a devotional person will say, yes, from God it came to the heavens, which is sun for two human beings. They think of it differently, but you must understand it what it really means. These are eternal principles coming down from time immemorial, existed in time immemorial, discovered by an incredible galaxy of intellects in ancient India 4,000 years ago and carrying on. That's what he's talking about. And in fact, in the second verse, he says that this is by the time of the Gita, he's saying it has been lost. Can you imagine? And we are saying it's continuing. Krishna is saying it is lost. It's not there even in Krishna's time. So you can imagine if that was deterioration, what it is now. There is no concept at all. Read it. I'm not making it up. Verse 2.
Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo viduhu sakalene hamahata yogo nashtha parantapa.
Evam parampara praptam. Thus handed down in succession. The king sages knew this. This yoga by long lapse of time has been lost. Here, O Parantapa. So, what he's saying is, thus handed down, which I just explained to you, the Guru Shishya Parampara. And those who were responsible, the sages, brought down this knowledge and they were protected by the kings who themselves were sages. So they made sure that this knowledge was preserved for the people. But then, by long lapse of time, even by the time of Krishna, what had happened is, he's not talking about external. It was immediately after the Gita is when the external invasion started. Here he's talking about the internal deterioration had started. So kings like the Kauravas and all became selfish. So instead of helping to understand and propagate this knowledge, which was their prime duty. See, the sages were too busy with research and teaching. So they left the governance in the hands of these fellows. the kings. And since the kings were righteous, they took all the guidance from the sages. They didn't move a pencil from here to there without asking. So it was a beautiful system. They did what they were good at, which is governance. They concentrated on the spiritual knowledge, the sages, and they guided the whole society. These fellows followed implicitly. But by the time of the Mahabharata, if you know the story, characters like Duryodhana had sprung up. And their biggest mistake was they used to disregard the advice of the sages. And that's the deterioration he's talking about. So he says in the past, even the kings knew this. But now, Arjuna himself was a king and he had no clue of this knowledge. This is the time of the Gita I'm talking about. Please try and understand. So, the second significance of the word Raja Rishi, which is used here in the Gita for the first time, is the ideal combination for your spiritual growth. See, a person who has seen life, in the sense you've seen money and you know what the world is, and you're interested in spiritual growth, it's a very powerful combination. Because if you've not seen life, that hunger for the world remains very difficult to grow spiritually. So, it's not that you have to be a multi-millionaire. I'm talking generally. I would say all of you fit into that category. Generally, you've seen life, less or more. What is it? What more there is to see? You've seen a car, right? You may have a better car or a worse car. That is the point. Is you know what a car is. It's like that. You know what a house is. You know what life is. So once you've seen it, and you're interested in something beyond it, it's a very powerful combination. So otherwise, there's that hunger for the world. Knowledge really doesn't go in. I mean, not all the time. We're talking generally. So you'll see even in the Upanishads, Yajnavalkya taught Janaka is a king. Janaka was sitting and he's a king, and Yajnavalkya was the first and foremost sage of the Upanishads. He came to him, what king? He's sitting there in his, what do you call that? Court. All its glory. And he says, all this is imperishable. What you're sitting like that? Do you know what is beyond all this? This will all go. What is it which doesn't go? Do you know? So Janaka got a shock of his life. And then with that typical arrogance, he says, I'll give you 1,000 cows. Teach me about liberation. See that arrogance. Okay, I'm giving you something. Now teach. Upanishads, they finish these fellows off. So very, very, very politely, he says, Pita me manyeta nanushishya haretiti. Means, my father has told me not to accept anything from a student without teaching him. He tells the king, keep it. First you learn. If you feel this knowledge is worth supporting, you support. But before that, what are you giving me this? It's not a transaction. Yeah. It's not a show ticket. I'm buying a show now. Now dance. You understand? I bought your ticket. No. Now dance. It's not a business transaction. So people say, why don't you charge for these classes? Become like this is the madness it will become. You understand? Sickening. So, and then I got another email from YouTube. They're saying you got so many fellows listening to you. Why Would you like to monetize your channel? Monetize your channel, YouTube. We are the only ones who don't have ads and all. So I said, you mean to say I'm teaching this Guru Shishya Parampara, huh? And in the middle of that, an ad will come up. Tide, wash your clothes with Tide. There's a limit to lunacy also. For a few dollars. Drink Coke and Pepsi. A sale at Macy's, 20% off. I'm teaching, and in the middle that ad will pop up. I'd rather die, I told you. You understand? No monetizing, no nothing. Let it be a loss. See, the fellows, nobody maintains the tradition. Can you imagine? Now in the Zoom, next thing Zoom will say. So many fellows have logged in. Why don't we have ad in the middle? So, okay, ad break. Is IPL going on over? Okay, strategic timeout. Yeah. Reduce the whole thing to a mockery. So, I go back to Yajnavalkya. I told Janaka, my father told me, don't accept anything from a student. He put it politely. He didn't tell him, shut up. He told him, look how politely he put it. My father has taught me, never take from a student without teaching him. Look at the culture. So, where is that an ad on YouTube? Can you imagine the absurdity of the whole thing? So, where were we? No, Yajnavalkya I said already. Janaka. Yeah, right. So the king sages. So Janaka is a king who has everything. And Yajnavalkya tells him, what do you have? Nothing. Do you understand that or no? Dumb. No, that's what he's trying to tell him. So he can understand. Janaka can understand. Because he's seen. So in the Mundaka Upanishad also he says, right? Shaunaka Havai Mahashala. That great king. Mahashala means the great householder. Came to Angirasa and says, what is that? So why are they unnecessarily saying he's a great king or he's a great chief or he's a great householder? Throughout. To explain this part of it. That if you've seen the world, you understood the futility, then it's powerful. But if you're still hungering for the world, how can you understand Vedanta? So it's not a rule. He's talking about the concept that you should be fully understanding this world is nothing. There has to be something beyond it. You may or may not have it. That's not the point. But you have it, it's guaranteed, then you understand, right? Most people who have it are not interested at all. So there are two conditions. You must have and be interested in the higher. So I would say most of you I would say all of you would fall in that category. So you don't have to worry. Let me make few more million, then I'll understand Vedanta. It's not what he's saying. Yeah, Susan, you had something?
Yes, good morning, Gautamji. I am interested, my question is it unique to Swamiji to talk about the four sources of like how we gain knowledge? I've learned about that in other, in other studies that I've done in general in Indian philosophy. Is it unique to Swamiji to talk about them here in this chapter?
No. See, the knowledge of Vedanta is not unique to anybody. These are, like I said, these are general principles, right? So you may have come across them many places. That's not the point. Now, the point of what is unique about Swamiji is what, since you're asking, is when he started his research, I'm talking about the late 50s. So we're talking literally 70 years ago. He's almost 100 now. He's 98 now, right? So we're talking 70 years ago is when he started, or more than that. So he started this research by going through these books and what was available at that time, the teachers and all. And what he found after literally almost a decade of doing this is full time, is that the knowledge is there, but it's put in a way which is inaccessible to the modern human being. The average human being of today cannot understand. So it took him another 10 years, so about 20 years, to come up with the Vedanta treatise, which is the book which we study on Saturdays. Now that book also, if you look at it, I wouldn't say anything unique or unknown to others, or to Vedanta. That's knowledge is always there, but it's put in a way, in simple English, from 0 to 100, the whole philosophy, in a way which you can understand. So that's what is unique. Now, same thing with the Gita here. There are so many commentaries on the Gita, but the way it's explained and the way the thought flow is derived is what is important, is what is unique. You get it? So definitely you would have heard it. There's nothing original about it. But it's just the way it's put is that you'll be able to understand. And even that is difficult. That's why you need to come to class to understand what is written, right? Which itself is a explanation. It's not easy. You clear, Susan?
Just a quick question, but is it unique that Swamiji talks about it right here in this chapter?
No, what? The 4 methods of gaining knowledge?
Yeah.
No, he's talking about, since he's talking about tradition, which is what this verse talks about.
Yeah.
He's giving the other 3 methods of gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
Which I'm coming to. I haven't yet covered that. But it's relevant in this context because he's mentioning tradition. But tradition is not the only way to gain knowledge. There are 3 other methods which he talks about. So, as continuing from what Susan just asked, so what we are talking about is tradition, right? This knowledge has been traditionally handed down for thousands of years. So it's powerful because it's time tested. So the other methods of gaining knowledge is, number 1, pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means direct perception. Now you see, direct perception is right now your eyes can see the light. You know it's day. Now you don't need somebody from thousands of years ago to tell you it's day or night. That you can see on your own. Direct perception. Second is anumana. Anumana means inference. You may not directly see it, but you can infer it. Right? See, you can't directly see stupidity, but the minute they talk, you can infer it. This is the condition of their brain. No, not. So, it's like that. You can't see it, right? But you infer it. So, typical example of inference is you see smoke. You can't see fire, but you can infer it's fire. That's how you gain knowledge. You don't need somebody from the past or tradition to tell you. You can infer it from your own understanding. Third is upama. Upama means comparison. You gain knowledge through comparing. So you say this person is sly as a fox, right? So the comparison, like a fox is sly, this person is sly, cunning. You can compare to understand things by your other experiences. And fourth is Agama. Agama means tradition. So the knowledge of Vedanta, although inference and upama help you in understanding the knowledge, it's not directly perceptible. But the main means of understanding it is the experience of those before you. So you apply your intellect and try and understand it. That's the knowledge which is handed down through tradition. Even secular knowledge is agama. It's like you went to medical school. You don't have to discover all the things that you're learning. The people who've discovered it before you learn from them. The textbooks have their discoveries. That is all the curriculum in the medical school, right? The guy who first transplanted a kidney, you don't have to go into that research. You just know how he did it, you can reproduce it. So it's tradition in a way. It's not perception. You can't get it directly. You can't infer it. You can't compare it because you don't know it, right? So if that tradition was broken by the time of Krishna, you can imagine what it is today. It is completely shut down. So in those glorious days, Satya Yuga, the Vedic days, the whole society was geared towards self-realization. You understood as a child that your mission and purpose, you went and spent 10 years in a guru's home to learn this knowledge from about 8, 9 to 16, 17. And that's what you learned. Your mission in life is to realize the self. And then you got into the world. You didn't give up everything. You got into the world. Grihastha, householder, to practice this knowledge. You lived, even though you were in a household, you lived with a spirit of detachment. So you practice this knowledge. So that whole tradition is gone. The society was geared towards that. Everything was geared towards that. But it is so powerful that even today it's there. The hangover, smatterings are all there. Yes, Shreyas.
Hariyam Gautamji, I just wanted a quick clarification. You spoke about pratyaksha, direct perception, anumana, inference. What was the third one? It was a comparison.
Upama is comparison. And agama is tradition.
Tradition. And just a quick question in terms of context of sharing this knowledge. We talk about the yugas. We are right now in Kali Yuga. And there are the other yugas of, I guess, Dwapara Yuga and Treta Yuga.
Mm-hmm.
So this text, the context of this text was written when people were probably the most realized. Is that a fair comment in terms of the yuga when this text came about?
But he's saying it has been lost and you're saying it's most realized. He's saying...
No. When it was introduced. Now it is...
You're talking about the knowledge of Vedanta.
Yes.
Yes, that is Satya Yuga, the time of the Upanishads.
Yes, Upanishads.
And then it deteriorated.
Yes.
The time of Rama was Dwapara.
Right.
And then Treta, Dwapara is... See, Treta means 3. Righteousness had come down to 3 from 4. Satya is 4.
Okay.
It's symbolic.
Got it.
So it's a 4-legged cow, and then it became 3-legged. That is Treta. Then it became 2-legged. Means unrighteousness went up, righteousness went down. And now we are in Kali, hanging by a thread. One leg is also not there. You can't say it's 25% righteous. It's much, much less than that. So, until there is total destruction, it's a symbolic concept. So, when people go from righteous to selfish, a time comes when the selfishness becomes so much that they cannot stand others living. You understand? So, they want to destroy everything, which is what is happening. You're of a different race, I want to destroy you. You're of a different religion, I want to destroy you. Now it's gone to different belief, I want to destroy you. So a time will come, everybody becomes intolerant. Divorce rate is already what, 60, 70%. So youngsters are saying, we don't want to get married. So chances I will get divorced. Sensible. I think quite sensible. Why you want to force you did nonsense and you want to force that nonsense into your son? He looks at you and says, wait, look at them, why should I get married? Correct, no? I'm not joking. So many youngsters, this is not worth it. Because it's so intolerant, you can't stand somebody else in your house, in your room. You want me to share a room with somebody? Forget it, man. Literally, it's like that. I know a couple of people who got divorced because they just couldn't handle sharing the room. They're not used to it. Much better. And now they're best friends. As long as not in the same room, they're best friends. So interesting. Very interesting psychology. Because you're so selfish, you can't handle anybody else. So as a society, you become like that. That is Kali. So the test of a growth of a society is how tolerant you are, how you sympathize and feel one with others. So it's a deterioration. Then total destruction is pralaya. One fellow will have, it's a question of time. One mad fellow will press the bomb, and then another mad fellow will respond. The third fellow will respond, and the whole world will blow up. That's quite easy to see. But then all the desires are there. What happens? Again they come back. That is creation. So creation, dissolution. That's what those cycles talk about. You get it? So don't worry about the days and times. They talk in millions of years. It's symbolic. It's the deterioration has happened in a few thousand years. So don't get into literally what it is. Symbolically, you must understand what they're trying to say. So that you can clearly see it, right? From Rig Veda till now, all the 4 yugas are happening. The last one is there. See, in other words, how long will you keep nuclear technology from the hands of the mad fellows? How long? It's not possible. It's a question of time. The technological growth is so fast. It's like how long will you keep hackers from your grid? They can switch off the electrical grid in 1 second, destroy everything. So it's like that. Now don't get all afraid, all of you. The point is, it's a natural cycle. You do what you can. The beauty of this knowledge is, regardless of what's happening around you, you're still fully in charge of your mind. So focus on changing that. And if you change yourself, there's a chance you'll change others around you. The Archbishop of Canterbury, like the Pope of England. When I was young and free and my imagination had no limits. So these words are written on the tomb of an Anglican bishop in the crypts of Westminster Abbey in London, England. This is a truth written on his tombstone, in other words. When I was young and free and my imagination had no limits, I dreamed of changing the world. As I grew older and wiser, I discovered the world would not change. So I shortened my sight somewhat and decided to change only my country. He started with the world. But it too seemed immovable. As I grew into my twilight years, in one last desperate attempt, I settled for changing only my family, those closest to me, but alas, they would have none of it. Any of you have ever tried changing your wife or husband? Children? Impossible. And now, as I lie on my deathbed, I suddenly realize if I had only changed myself first, then by example I would have changed my family. From their inspiration and encouragement, I would then have been able to better my country. And who knows, I may have even changed the world. So, please understand this. You can't change anybody. Have you tried? 40 years you've been telling your wife or husband, same thing. You can't change them one bit. Your children, you try and change them, they'll rebel. Extreme rebellion. So only thing you can change is yourself. So don't worry about the condition of the world. You change yourself. What did Buddha do? Change themselves. People are still learning. Thousands of years later, millions of people are learning. Why? He changed himself. He didn't do anything else. What did Krishna do? Why are we listening to his words now? He realized the self within. So it's like that. So you get disheartened, oh, look at the world. But you are in control of your life. Right? You start with that first. Whole world will change once you change. Three.
Saevayam maya tevya yoga prota puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hyetaduttamam.
The same ancient yoga has today been imparted to you by me. For you are my devotee, Sakha, Bhakta, friend. Sakha, friend, Bhakta, devotee. And this indeed is the supreme secret. So, what Krishna is saying is, in the tradition of the Guru Shishya Parampara, the preceptor disciple lineage, I am giving you this knowledge since you have asked for it. So, number one, what is the prerequisites for gaining the knowledge? Bhakta means devotee. Devotion comes when you surrender. See, you go to a doctor, you must surrender. You don't know, I don't know, you know. So that gives devotion. Arjuna in the beginning of the second chapter qualified because he said, I don't know what I'm talking. First chapter he did not qualify, which is why Krishna did not speak a word. Only in the second chapter when Arjuna said, I don't know what I'm talking, right? Bhakta, that is devotion. So you cannot have this arrogance. You will not learn anything. You must understand at least that much sense you have. Which areas of life you don't know anything. When it comes to this, you don't know. It's not your fault. You've not been taught. How will you know? It's like I don't know anything about medicine. Means surgery. Do I know anything? I've not been taught. If I need a surgery, I surrender to a surgeon. I can decide which surgeon. That's my prerogative. But once you decide, you must surrender, right? So you are not only a devotee, but the advantage of Arjuna and Krishna is he's also a friend. So a friend implies trust, right? It is like how, suppose you are learning from your father or brother, it's different than learning from a guru. It's not that the knowledge is different, but there is an implicit trust. So he says, what is your problem? You not only have devotion, we are so close, we are related and we are friends. So you can really learn it. That's what he's trying to say. I'm imparting it to you. Not only are you a devotee, you're also a friend. And this is the supreme secret. Now, what he's trying to say is, I'll explain it next time we meet, but what he's trying to say is, it is very difficult to understand this because the self is beyond your body, mind, intellect. In that sense, it's a secret. So just remember, this part has to be explained next time we meet. So this Wednesday, we're not meeting for the Q&A because I have a prior speaking engagement in Manhattan. So we will next meet on Saturday for the Vedanta class, and of course next Sunday for this. So you have any questions, you can still send them. We can take them the following Wednesday. Hari Om.